The man behind America's new spacesuit. How Elon Musk took Hollywood costume designer Jose Fernandez from Batman to NASA. Written by Guy Martin for Forbes Life magazine, May 29, 2020. In Cape Canaveral, Florida, on May 27th, NASA's astronauts Bob Behnken and Doug Hurley walk out of the Operations and Checkout building on their way to SpaceX Falcon 9 rocket with the Crew Dragon spacecraft on Launch Pad 339A at the Kennedy Space Center on May 27th, 2020, in Cape Canaveral, Florida. NASA will try again on Saturday for the inaugural flight that will be the first manned mission since the end of the Space Shuttle program in 2011 to be launched into space from the United States. This weekend, and for a while now, new dad of the entertainingly named little boy, Exxon A12 Musk, and footloose Twitter aficionado Elon Musk, is having one of what he hopes to be a long future of space moments. It's no small accomplishment to get a nod from NASA bigs that you can carry the most precious asset, their astronauts, up to the big game on the International Space Station. And kudos to Daddy Musk and to NASA for that. But talk about a cool flight suit. Elon Musk and his deeply pedigreed Hollywood costume designer, Jose Fernandez, took a couple of years to design the new NASA super skinny pressure suits. The spacesuits certainly look snazzy, with their close-to-the-body cut, their elegant dark silver fireproof piping, and the white Teflon fabric, their highly articulate gloves and neck, and the black knee-high boots that seem to quote the Duke of Wellington's own below-the-knee cavalry boots, albeit ready for the wear and tear of outer space rather than that of Napoleon's cannon at Waterloo. Mr. Fernandez is no stranger to durable, tight-fitting clothes for heroes. Having worked on costumes for Batman vs. Superman, Dawn of Justice, Tron, Iron Man 2, The Amazing Spider-Man, and Captain America Civil War, to name just a few of his impressive credits. He was first approached by SpaceX in 2016 to participate in a design competition and freely recounts that he didn't, at first, understand that it was for a real space effort, not a movie production about a space effort, to which he would be submitting his work. I didn't know what SpaceX was, and I thought it was a film, the modest Fernandez says. Musk really liked Fernandez's submission to the helmet design, which is, with considerable reverse engineering to make sure that the thing would work in space, a very special piece of equipment. Fernandez is fluent in helmets, having designed Thor's and his brother Loki's awe-inspiring helmets for Thor. Not to suggest that Loki's excellent giant antelope horned headpiece is proudly worn by Tom as proudly worn by Tom Hiddleston would actually fit inside of SpaceX's Crew Dragon capsule. A spacesuit designed for the use of the Crew Dragon spacecraft is seen during the media tour of SpaceX headquarters and rocket factory on August 13, 2018, in Hawthorne, California. SpaceX plans to use the spaceship Crew Dragon, a passenger version of the robotic Dragon cargo ship, to carry NASA astronauts to the International Space Station for the first time since the Space Shuttle program was retired in 2011. In his work in 2016's Batman vs. Superman, Dawn of Justice, one of Fernandez's signature accomplishments was that he was able to fashion a cowl so that Ben Affleck could turn his head. In countless Batman films, the necessarily stiff cowl had prevented the actors from doing that, seriously inhibiting their read in every sort of scene, but especially in action shots. Not to mention how it cobbled and cramped the directors of photography and their cameramen. Fernandez also famously liberated Hugh Jackman in his second turn as Wolverine in X2, whose cast had been so trapped in their costumes in the first installment that they literally had to be helped upstairs. As an acknowledged master of costumes that holds to and corsets the body, Fernandez is necessarily a master of joinery and tailoring, meaning he has the ability to resolve the often difficult points at which different materials meet. In a spacesuit, the joinery has to be super tight, in fact, airproof. In no piece of extreme adventure apparel is this more clear than in the helmet of the spacesuit, which, to recall the stiff bolt-on helmets of NASA's astronauts from John Glenn to Neil Armstrong, had their ancestry back to the design DNA of a deep-sea diving equipment of the 19th century. U.S. Vice President Mike Pence and his wife Karen Pence watch as the NASA astronauts Bob Belkin and Doug Hurley get into the Tesla vehicle after walking out of the operations and checkout building on their way to the SpaceX Falcon 9 rocket with the Crew Dragon spacecraft on Launch Pad 39A at the Kennedy Space Center on May 27, 2020 in Cape Canaveral, Florida. The inaugural flight will be the first manned mission since the end of the Space Shuttle program in 2011 to be launched into space from the United States. Not so the light, ovid, and very open to the cosmos Fernandez helmet. Fernandez has not simply given his astronauts a better, less obstructed field of view. The helmet tops a flexible and, for a spacesuit, very extended and articulated neck piece, best seen above as astronaut Doug Hurley left as he boards the Tesla on May 27th en route to the spacecraft before the launch was scrubbed. You can see it right here. In fact, some of the old NASA helmets would wholly prevent the astronaut from even contemplating getting his head low enough to get into a car, as astronaut Hurley is doing. We'll get to see Hurley and his partner Bob Behnken do it again on Saturday, and again with the excellent product placement of the Musk enterprise-friendly Tesla as the new and very cushy official NASA launch tender rider. With the visor up, the Fernandez helmet resembles that of a partisan pompier, a fireman's helmet, jaunty and protective at once. Visor down, the sleek ovid quotes some of Caradula's very, very cool space headgear that Stanley Kubrick had commissioned from his masterpiece 2001: A Space Odyssey. In addition, close viewers of the Grammys and all fans of disco electronic dance traces will notice a strong connection in the NASA helmet to the helmet sported by the ultra-shy French pop duo Daft Punk. This is no accident. It should be noted that Daft Punk was in fact commissioned the brilliant Fernandez for several pieces of their trademark weirdo disco robot headgear. But as a deeply schooled extreme couture tailor to be a sort of cinematic heroes and heroines embroiled in narratives whose origins sketch back to the early 20th century, Mr. Fernandez would be well aware of Kubrick's early camera-friendly helmet innovations. Oops. Echoes of NASA gear at the 2017 Grammys. The profile of the Daft Punk members to the left of The Weeknd, pictured here after their performance in the 59th Grammys, would be a similar shape to the NASA helmet. A year later, Fernandez's SpaceX spacesuit would debut. Fernandez NASA suits are also made to travel, free of the dangle and drag of the support apparatus of previous in-house NASA designs. With the power and life support systems relying on a single connection at the thigh, the notion here is not simply one of economy, but also one of flexibility and comfort. If the suits are made more livable, as Fernandez suits are, then the astronauts will not waste energy fighting the cumbersomeness of their clothes as they engage in tasks in microgravity, or at least their tests they waste less energy fighting them less. As in Fernandez's costume for Ben Affleck's Batman, the emphasis on mobility as an expression of character. The body of the suit is aptly military in style, but not overly so. The epaulettes are accomplished with a dark silver piping, tracing the shape rather than the actual tab of the fabric, and the inset dark silver ground for the bright shoulder patches brings an extra whiff of sleek-down military formality, as do the patches of dark silver in the high wear areas of the elbows and the sides of the suit. Again, here the joinery is the thing. The seams are deeply worked so as to be there without being there. A spacesuit designed for use in the Crew Dragon spacecraft is seen during a media tour of SpaceX headquarters and Rocket Factory on August 13, 2018 in Hawthorne, California. SpaceX plans to use the spaceship Crew Dragon, a passion version of a robotic Dragon cargo ship, to carry NASA astronauts to the International Space Station for the first time since the Space Shuttle program been retired in 2011. The formality is no accident. Fernandez tells the story this way. He, Musk, kept saying, anyone looks better in a tux, no matter what size or shape they are. And when people put this spacesuit on, he wants them to look better than they did without it, like a tux. You look heroic in it. Looking closely at the front of the spacesuit's piping, below the neck, which forms a kind of necklace that stops slightly above the sternum, just above the suit's emblazoned NASA chest emblem, we can see that the cup-shaped bottom of that neckline is drawn in a much heavier gauge of piping, figuratively demarking where the lapels of a tux would sharply outline the bright white shirt underneath. Jose Fernandez will be receiving no calls or accolades from the Council of Fashion Design of America or New York Fashion Week for these spacesuits, although it wouldn't be a bad idea. But they are brilliantly executed industrial wear and have their witty cultural roots, as much as America does, deep in the fertile cosmetology of American cinema. These clothes will walk no catwalk, as we will see at launch on Saturday. The stage they are now on is altogether larger one performance in extremis. In every sense of the phrase, the Fernando spacesuits are out of this world. Thanks for listening, and I hope you learned something from the article.